Once upon a time in a small village, there lived a man named Emma. Emma was known for being lazy. He didn't like to work and spent most of his days lying under the shadow of a big tree, dreaming and watching the clouds float by. His wife Stella was a hard-working woman. She took care of their home, their 2 children, and even did some small jobs around the village to make sure they had food to eat. But Emma, he just didn't want to lift a finger. "Emma," Stella would say every day, "our children have nothing to eat. We need food. You have to get a job." Emma would just shrug and say, "I will someday. Don't worry, Stella." But days turned into weeks and Emma never did anything. Stella began to worry. How much longer could they survive with Emma being so lazy? One day Stella had enough. She had been working in the garden all day, her back aching while Emma snored under the tree. She stormed over him and shook him awake. "Emma, I can't do this anymore. You need to go and find a job, or we won't have anything left to eat." Emma rubbed his eyes, yawning. "Stella, calm down. I'll find something tomorrow." "Tomorrow? You always say tomorrow. But what about today, Emma? What about our children? Do you want them to go hungry?" Emma looked away. He didn't like feeling bad, but he also didn't want to work. He tried to come up with excuses, but Stella's eyes were filled with tears and his heart sank. The next morning, Stella packed a small bag for Emma. "Emma, you are not coming back here until you find a job," Stella said, her voice firm but sad. "We love you, but we need you to help us." Emma was shocked. He didn't think Stella would ever send him away. He felt a lump into his throat as he saw his children looking at him with big sad eyes. But he knew he didn't argue with Stella, so he grabbed the bag and left the house, not sure what to do next. As Emma walked away from his home, he felt scared. He had never really worked before. How was he going to find a job? What if no one wanted to hire him? But deep inside, Emma knew that he had to try. He had to do it for Stella and his children. Emma wandered through the village looking for work. He knocked on doors asking if anyone needed help. But many people knew about Emma's laziness and they just shook their heads. "No, Emma, we don't have work for you," they said. Emma felt embarrassed and more worried as the day went on. Maybe he had been lazy for too long. Maybe no one trusted him anymore. Just when he was about to give up, an old man sitting by the side of the road called out to him, "Hey young man, you look like you need help." Emma stopped and looked at the old man. He had a long white beard and kind eyes. Emma wasn't sure if he should talk to him, but something in the old man's voice made him stop. "I don't know what to do," Emma said quietly. "My wife told me I can't come back home until I find a job." The old man nodded. "Then my boy, you have a long journey ahead of you, but don't worry. Sometimes the hardest journeys teach us the most." Emma didn't know what the old man meant, but he thanked him and continued on his way. The next morning, Emma woke up feeling more determined. He would not give up. He had to prove Stella that he could do it. He walked to a nearby village and asked around for work again. This time, a kind farmer offered him a small job, helping to carry hay. It was hard work, and Emma wasn't used to it. His back ached, his hands got dirty, and he was sweaty all day. But he didn't stop. He kept going, thinking of Stella and his children. By the end of the day, the farmer handed him a small bag of coins. It wasn't much, but it was something. Emma smiled for the first time in a long time. Maybe this wasn't going to be so bad after all. That night, Emma found a quiet spot under a tree and fell asleep quickly. Tired from the long day of work, as he slept, he had a strange dream. In the dream, he was standing in a field filled with golden crops, but as soon as he tried to pick them, they would turn into dust in his hands. He heard a voice in a distance, soft but clear. "Emma, you must not just work with your hands, you must work with your heart." Emma woke up confused. What was the meaning of the dream? Was it just his tired mind playing tricks on him? Or Was there something deeper he needed to understand? The next day, Emma met a merchant who was looking for someone to help carry goods to the city. The journey would be long, and the pay wasn't great, but Emma accepted. He needed to keep working if he was going to prove Stella that he could change. As they traveled, the merchant noticed that Emma seemed troubled. "What's on your mind, young man?" the merchant asked. Emma sighed and told him about his dream. "I don't know what it means," he admitted. The merchant smiled. "Sometimes work isn't what about you do with your hands. It's about why you are doing it. If you work for the ones you love, that's when it really matters." Emma thought about that for a long time. Maybe the dream was telling him something important. Maybe he needed to put his heart into his work, not just his hands. Weeks passed and Emma worked harder than before. He saved up money and even started enjoying the feeling of a hard day's work. But more than anything, he missed Stella and his children. One evening, as he sat by the fire, he realized it was time to go home. He had worked, he had earned money, but most importantly, he had learned something. He had learned that work wasn't just about making money, it was about doing something for the people he loved. The next morning, he packed his things and started a long journey home, feeling proud of the man he had become. After days of walking, Emma finally saw his village in a distance. His heart raced. He hadn't seen Stella or the children in weeks. What would they think of him now? He had money in his pocket and stories of hard work to share, but would that be enough to make up for the time he had been away? As he reached home, he felt nervous. What if Stella had lost hope in him? What if she no longer wanted him back? He took a deep breath and knocked on the door. For a moment, there was no answer, and Emma's stomach churned with fear. But then, the door slowly opened, and there stood Stella. She looked surprised, but there was something else in her eyes. Was it hope or doubt? "Emma," she asked, her voice soft and uncertain. "I am home, Stella," Emma said, his voice trembling. "I have worked hard and I've earned some money, but more than that, I have learned what it means to provide for you and the children." Stella stood there silent for a moment. Then she stepped forward and hugged him tightly. Emma could feel her shaking, and he realized how much his absence has hurt her. "I missed you," she whispered. "I am sorry, Stella. I will never be a lazy man again," Emma promised, holding her close. Soon, their two children ran out from behind Stella, their faces lightening up when they saw their father. "Papa," they cried, running into his arms. Emma felt a wave of emotion as he lifted them both, laughing and spinning them around. He had missed them so much, and now holding them in his arms, he realized just how important they were to him. "I promise to take care of you," Emma said, his voice breaking. "I'll work hard for you all." The children didn't understand his words completely, but they could feel the love in the father's embrace. Stella watched tears fill her eyes. She had waited for this moment, hoping Emma would come back as a changed man, and now it seemed her wish had come true. In the days that followed, Emma worked harder than ever. He didn't sit under the tree anymore, dreaming his days away. Instead, he went out every morning, taking any work he could find, whether it was fixing fences, helping with the harvest, or even cleaning stables. Emma did it with a smile, knowing he was doing it for the family. At first, the villagers were surprised to see Emma working so hard. Many didn't believe he had truly changed, but as the days turned into weeks, they saw that he wasn't the same lazy man they once knew. One day, as Emma was repairing a neighbor's roof, the village chief approached him. "I've been watching you, Emma," the chief said. "You've become a different man. I am proud of the change you have become." Emma smiled, wiping away the sweat from his face. "I had to, for my family," he said simply. The chief nodded. "Well, if you are looking for the steady work, I could use someone like you at the mill. It won't be easy, but it will provide for your family." Emma's heart soared. A steady job? He couldn't wait to tell Stella. That evening, Emma returned home with exciting news. Stella greeted him with a tired but happy smile. She had been working at home all day, but Emma could see the difference in her now. She wasn't carrying all the burden alone anymore. "Stella, I got a job at the mill," Emma said, barely able to contain his excitement. Stella's eyes widened. "That's wonderful, Emma," she exclaimed, hugging him tightly. For the first time in their marriage, Emma felt like he was truly providing for his family. It was now a new feeling, and he liked it. Working at the mill wasn't easy. The hours were long, and the work was tough. Emma would come home every night exhausted, his hands sore from lifting heavy sacks of grain. But every time he saw Stella and the children, his heart felt lighter. One evening, as he sat down to dinner with his family, Stella placed a warm bowl of stew in front of him. "You've been working so hard, Emma. I'm proud of you," she said with a smile. Emma looked around the table, seeing the happiness in his children's face, and realized that all the hard work was worth it. His family was well fed, their home was warm, and there was love in the air. "I will keep working hard, Stella," he promised, "for you and for us." As winter approached, Emma knew things were going to get harder. The mill didn't need as many workers during the cold months, and he worried about how they would manage. They had saved some money, but it wasn't enough to last all winter. One evening after the children had gone to bed, Emma sat down with Stella to talk. "We'll have to be careful with what we have," Emma said. "It's going to be a tough winter." Stella nodded, but there was a calmness in her eyes that Emma hadn't seen before. "We'll be okay, Emma. You've already done so much. We'll get through this together." Emma smiled for the first time in a long time. He didn't feel the weight of failure on his shoulders. He felt hope. The first snowflakes fell gently, covering the village in a beautiful white blanket. Emma loved how the world looked, but he knew the cold would bring challenges. They had enough firewood to last for a few weeks, but after that, they would need to find more. One day, Emma decided to go out into the woods to gather firewood. He bundled up warmly and headed out, determined to provide for his family. As he walked through the snowy trees, he felt a sense of peace. The crunch of snow beneath his boots was soothing, and for a moment he forgot about his worries. But then he heard a strange sound. It was a faint whispering. Emma followed the sound until he found a small, shivering puppy caught in a thorny bush. The puppy looked scared and lonely. "Oh, you poor thing," Emma said, carefully freeing the puppy from the thorns. It wagged its tail, looking up to him with big, grateful eyes. Emma's heart melted. He knew he should take it home, but he also wondered if they could afford to take care for another creature. After a moment's hesitation, he picked up the puppy and held it close. "Don't worry, you are coming with me," he said, feeling a surge of determination. When Emma returned home, he held the puppy close. Stella was surprised when she opened the door and saw Emma standing there with a little creature. "What's that?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "It's a puppy, Stella. I found him in the woods," Emma explained, excited in his voice. "Can we keep it?" Stella hesitated, looking at the puppy, who was wagging its tail furiously. "Emma, can we really afford to take care for another mouth to feed?" Emma knelt down, looking the puppy in the eyes. "I promise I will take care of him. I'll feed him and make sure he's happy. He can help keep our spirits during this cold winter." After a moment, Stella sighed. "All right, but you have to help with him. Well, call him Lucky, since you found him." The children squealed with joy when they saw Lucky, and Emma felt warmth fill the room. He knew that Lucky would bring happiness to their home even during the cold winter. Thanks for watching my video, and this has marked the end of part 1 of our story about Emma, who is struggling to come out of laziness so that he takes up his position as a man in the family, and also has gotten a new member in the family. But the question is, will he be able to feed him in this trying time of winter? I sincerely appreciate your support, and if this is your first time on this channel, I kindly request that you subscribe, like, comment, and also share my videos. I love you all, and let's meet in our next part of the story.